Good evening, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm Ishmael Sabia, 1/3 of Hear My Voice. I would love to show my face, but then it's been one of those days, so you only get to hear my lovely voice. We are the organizers of this here workshop on financial literacy that will be facilitated by Sis Lebo Mashile. This workshop series is a series that will be taking place up until this Saturday, started yesterday with brand identity, which we had Kabiso Vili as well as Shakira Dramat as facilitators for that. This series is so that we can equip poets to know everything about the industry, from finance, from marketing, from branding, how to apply for grants, how to write proposals, and just administer arts, as well as also how to create various content for arts, and is co-produced with the Center for Creative Arts. And this initiative is part of the Right to Speak project. The initiative highlights spoken word as a way to engage youth voices in Africa and Europe around issues of human rights and social justice. It is organized by the Goethe-Institut of South Africa, partnering with Hear My Voice, the Center for Creative Arts, the General Representation of Flanders, Wallonie-Bruxelles International, as well as the Institut Francais. And this is a project that has been ongoing since March this year and will conclude in October this year. And yeah, that is pretty much it in terms of introductions. Today, we're going to be looking at financial literacy, looking at details such as what is an invoice, what is a quote, what is the best amount to charge. A lot of you have often asked on social media and also asked us as an organization, what is the best amount to charge? How do you charge government? How do you charge corporate? How do you charge nonprofit organizations, etc., etc. Hopefully today we can go through that, and you can use that as a guideline to not only know what you need to successfully be financially free, but also how you can go about, charging, as well as making sure that you are financially stable within the poetry industry and as a poet. Without further ado, I'm gonna give it off to Sis Lebo to take it away. And please note that at the end, there will be a Q&A. Those who are willing to switch on their mics, you can just raise your hand at the end, and then I'll give you an opportunity to ask questions. You can also use the Q&A section as well as the chat, and then hopefully we'll have enough time to go through all your questions. Take it away, Sis Lebo.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Ishmael. Dumelang, Tarela, Sanbona. Hello. I saw in the chat that we've got people from all over the country in the room tonight, which I think is really great. I saw Kimberley, I saw Mpumalanga, Limpopo, Eastern Cape, Western Cape, Uppington. I saw lots of Gauteng, lots of KZN, Eastern Cape. It's wonderful to see such a great representation of people from all over the country. I love that. So tonight, I think money is such a massive issue, and it's a layered issue. It's personal, it's political, it's also practical. I want to touch on a number of different aspects, hopefully give some practical tools, unpack the philosophy that I'm trying to work through around money. And I mean, I don't think I can cover everything that needs to be covered around this issue tonight. I don't think it can be covered in one conversation. It's also an ongoing issue for me. So, as much as I am sharing my insights, I'm also saying what I'm saying to you is also what I am saying to myself. What I'm encouraging you to do is also what I'm encouraging myself to do. Because a lot of my understanding was just basically born out of mistakes, you know? I think a lot of us walk around with a great deal of trauma when it comes to money, you know, trauma from our families and the backgrounds and the communities that we come from. You know, if you're Black in this country, chances are you were not born into generational wealth, you know. So we didn't grow up, many of us, I know, we didn't grow up in households where money was a comfortable conversation. In fact, a lot of the time, money was a source of stress, you know, and whatever trauma family was going through was also amplified by the financial aspect of whatever that trauma was, divorce or death or moving or heartbreak or any of the things that happened to a family during childhood, you know? So I think I walked into my own working life very ignorant about the workings of money. And I did not realize at the time when I made the decision to be an artist more than 20 years ago, that I was walking into one of the most ruthless sectors in terms of money and business in the whole entire world. The arts and entertainment and media world is just notoriously unequal, oppressive, sexist, racist, you know. Of course, you know, like, everybody in my life, my mother and all the people who loved me when I wanted to be a creative were worried about how I was going to survive, because the image that they had in their mind of the life of an artist was that of a starving artist. And I think a lot of people walk around with that image. I think a lot of people don't really understand what it means to be a worker in the creative sector, what it means to offer skills and services as creative labor that entitles you to remuneration, like any other sector where you would be doing a job, where you'd be offering your skills and your labor and your time, your expertise, and being rewarded with money for that. You know, if you are a plumber, no one would question that. If you're a mechanic, no one would question that. If you're a construction worker, a laborer, an architect, nobody would question that. But people question it all the time when it comes to creatives, when it comes to artists. A lot of the people when I started out told me that I would never be able to make a living as a poet. In fact, there was not one person in my life who believed that I would be able to make a living doing what it is that I love. Everybody told me that I should treat it like a hobby. Everybody told me that I should get a real job. And I think that is partly what drove me to try to figure out how to make this work. In the process of my career, I figured out kind of two fundamental things right at the beginning, and I've shared this many times with people and in media and in public conversations, that I realized that I have an ability, being a poet gives me an ability with language, and it gives me an ability to be able to connect with people. So if I can use these two things, how can I multiply these two things to acquire new skills and to acquire new platforms and new spaces that will allow me to be able to earn a living? So poetry is the thread that cuts through everything that I do, you know, whether I'm emceeing or public speaking or facilitating like I am tonight, whether I'm writing, whether I'm scripting, whether I'm performing on stage in theater, or, you know, or performing my own work, you know, somewhere else. Like, being a poet is what has enabled me to be able to do all of this. And poetry forms part of the substance of all of that. But I, you know, it's been a journey figuring out how to make this work. It is still a journey. And all of those things that I listed are jobs, but each of those things has a different way of being costed. Each of those things has a different way of being quantified as labor, you know? So let's start with the basics, right? If somebody is booking you as a poet, because I mean, I know we've got different people from everywhere, all walks of life, different skill sets, different levels of experience as well. So let's start like right at the beginning, you know, with what happens when somebody makes an inquiry and says, we love what you do, please can you come and do it at our event? That event could be anywhere. I mean, that's the beauty also of being a poet, is that what we do, and I think the reason why I've been able to do what I do for so long and be able to do it in so many different spaces is because poetry is eternal, you know? Poetry is, it's like, you know, the lifeblood of a people's culture, like in this place, you know, and in different parts of the world. Poetry is, it's so timeless. It just finds different ways of mutating and giving expression to itself because human beings need poetry. That's an asset to us. In a country like South Africa, where a lot of people don't read, where a lot of people are not exposed to the arts, to have a country where you can even have poets as an identifiable cultural reference point is like, that's extraordinary. In a society where books are as expensive as they are, and you literally are asking people, especially in economic times like this, to make a decision, to make a choice between books and food, you know? In a country where things are that dire and where there's such a gross lack of exposure to the arts, people know poetry. People love poetry. That has a lot to do with the way that poetry is presented. You know, most of us are sharing our work by reading it, by sharing it online or sharing it live, sharing it at sessions. That's how people come to know poets in this country, you know? So that means that when somebody is coming to book you, chances are, you know, and obviously I'm speaking in very general terms, chances are they're coming to ask you to perform at their event, you know? If you are standing up on stage and you are reading your work, you are reciting work that you've memorized, you are performing. You have to be able to hold that audience. You have to be able to captivate that audience, you know? If you, and here's a really important question to ask yourself. Would you pay for what you do? If you look at what your offering is, do you think that your offering stands up to other offerings of the same price that you are asking for? I say this because some people are starting out. Some people are practicing. Some people are learning. Some people do this as a hobby. Some people, you know, they're doctors and they genuinely enjoy reading poetry for their friends at dinner parties. And that's how they give expression to their creative sides. And that's fine. For me, I am a professional. I am good at what I do. So when I stand on a stage and I share my poetry with you, I know that it's going to be an extraordinary experience. I know that people are going to be moved. I know that I'm skilled. I know that I've rehearsed, I've prepared. I know that the offering that I'm making for the price that I'm asking in the market that I'm asking for, in the market that I'm asking that price, it's comparable to anything and anyone else that is charging that price. I know that if I am not at your event, that the tone and the feel of that event is also going to change because I'm not making my contribution there, you know? So I can confidently say, this is what I charge. And I think you have to really kind of, you know, you have to be honest with yourself about that. If you know that you are, if you know that you can enter the marketplace and charge professionally for what you do, then never go back. Do you understand what I'm saying? If you know that you are that good, that you are skilled, that you can stand on stage and that what you do is magical and is unlike what anybody else does, because that's what an artist has to do, you know? If you know that you can do that, that's the quality of the offering that you're giving to people, then please never do what you do for free unless you are deliberately doing it for free. And if you can't say yes, honestly, in your own heart, if you can't say, hey, I wouldn't pay 5,000, 10,000, 50,000, 100,000 for this thing that I'm asking for this thing that I'm putting out there, you know, if you know that to be true, then that's okay too. You know what I mean? And be at peace with that. But if you are on the journey of becoming a professional artist, a professional performer who is going to charge for your services, then you've got to make sure that your offering is quality, consistently so, over a long period of time. So if I see you on Monday, if I see you on Wednesday, if I see you next year, if I see you in 6 months, if I see you in 10 years, your offering is still of the same standard, the same quality. It should be improving as time goes on, not going down, you know? So if somebody comes and they ask you and they say, we want to book you, we want you to come and perform at our church, at our event, at our conference, at our festival, right? Firstly, ask yourself, like, am I a professional? Is this price worth what it is that I'm offering? If you can say yes to that, then there's some practical steps that you need to take. The client is probably going to ask you. So the person who is asking you to come and share your work in their space is now a client. Clients can ask for all kinds of things. They can ask you to script, they can ask you to record, they can ask you to perform. I have many different clients for the many different services that I offer, you know. Your client is probably going to ask you for a quotation. A quotation means they are kind of checking the lay of the land. They're probably, if they're asking you for quotation, they're probably asking other people for quotations too, which is ethical. They have the right to ask as many people as they want to for their costs while they're putting the event together. So that's the time basically where you pitch, you know, that's where you say, okay, you know, this is who I am. This is what I charge. This is what I require if you're going to work with me, you know? The point at which they're asking you for the quote, I think is where you really have the most power to be able to set boundaries around the way it is that you're gonna work, you know? The smart artists are people who tell their clients how to treat them. They don't wait to see how clients are going to treat them. They say, if I'm going to work with you, this is the way that I need to be treated, right? So a quote is a formal document. It has all of your contact details. It tells us where we can find you. It may even have, you know, your social media. It has the cost of your services, and it has a detailed description of what it is that you are providing. So if you're doing an emceeing job, for example, for 20,000 rands, it says this quotation is for 20,000 rands for the gala dinner of the Charlotte Macleke Foundation on the 1st of September. And if I'm to appear at that event, it means that I will stay there from the beginning of the end and to the end of the event as the program director. I undertake to do, as part of my program directing services, between 3 and 4 poems, maybe, you know. If that gig is out of town, then I would also say, while I'm quoting in the quote, that the client is responsible for my transport. If I have to fly to Durban, it means that the client is responsible to fly me to Durban. Excuse me. The client is also responsible for accommodating me while I am in Durban. The client is also responsible for transporting me from the hotel. Excuse me, I'm just putting my phone on flight mode. The client is also responsible for transporting me from the airport to the hotel, from the hotel to the venue, from the venue back to the hotel, and then back to the airport, right? Every point of contact where I need to be for that gig, you know, every rehearsal, every media appearance, if I need to do media for that client, right? That client needs to be responsible for that transport. And the client also needs to feed me while I am away, you know? So if you book me in a hotel that provides breakfast, then I need an additional, whatever, 350, 400 rands, so that I can be able to buy myself lunch and dinner, unless you are providing lunch and dinner. And in that case, then you have to expressly say so, right? So these are all the things that you have the power to say when you're still quoting, you know? You also have the power to talk about how they can use your work. We're living in the era of social media. So what I find happening a lot of the time now with my clients, and especially since COVID, is because we are now in this digital era, right? We're doing these wonderful sessions on Zoom where we can talk to each other, and these sessions are recorded. Many times clients wake up and realize after your performance, after they've recorded it, that now they're sitting with this incredible content, right? And because they think that, you know, oh, it's our event, we paid for this poet to be there, we recorded it, we own this, you know? So that's how you end up, like, you do a performance in Durban, and then you find the client that booked you, now you're on their company website performing a poem. That's a very different thing. They booked you for a performance. They didn't book you so that they could use that performance as part of their digital marketing strategy. They never said that this was going to be on their website. They never said that this was going to be on YouTube. They never said that this was going to be on social media. So those are things that you also need to ask in the quotation. Will this be recorded? Is this material going to be recorded? If it is going to be recorded, where is it going to live? If it lives on social media, these are my social media rates. These are my terms of usage for social media. You know, the more detailed that you can be in terms of how you want to be treated, the more detailed you can be in terms of your requirements, the more you are letting your client know how it is that you want to be treated, and the more you are also avoiding conflict at a later stage. You know, the worst thing to do is to agree to appear and give your labor to somebody, and then not protect your own labor. And then now you're trying to fight after the gig to protect your labor. That's the worst situation that you can find yourself in, you know, because once you've performed, they've already got your labor. They've already got, once you've written the piece and submitted it, they already have it, you know. Now it's like you're fighting retroactively for something that you can't protect anymore. The best thing that you can try to do is to protect it up front, you know. So if I'm doing an event that is in Johannesburg, I'm responsible for my own transport. It's a day event, you know. Well, let me not say it's a day event. Whether it's during the day or whether it's in the evening, how I look at it, how I look at my bookings, I look at my bookings differently depending on who the client is, what sector they come from. Also, the duration of the event and what is required of me. So some people might have different rates, for example, for corporates, and a different rate for NPOs and a different rate for schools. And that's fine, you know. Your premium rate is your corporate rate. I would never do a gig for a corporate for free, ever. I would probably never even do a gig for an NPO for free. A school I might do for free, and even then I wouldn't do schools for free all the time, because it's just not a model that is sustainable. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I have to go to schools, if I have to do 5 schools in a month, yeah, it's great, my work is getting out there and I'm touching lives, but who's paying for my transport? Like, who's paying for the costs of me doing that? Because the cost of you doing a gig, the true cost of you spending your time at an event is all the other things that you could be doing while you're at that event. So the client is paying for that time too. If I'm at your event, emceeing your event, it means I can't do anything else. I can't do a voiceover, I can't write, I can't record, I can't do anything else. I'm at your event. So you're buying out my time. You know, if it takes me 5 hours to do your event, you're buying out that slot of time. You're basically buying out my whole day. A 5-hour event, I need to travel there, I need to travel home. That's 7 hours of my day. I can't really do much else that day. So you're paying for the day, you're blocking that chunk of time, and you're paying for my skills and my offering within that time, you know? Don't be afraid to charge people. Don't be afraid to insist on your worthiness. Don't be afraid of saying no to people who don't have money. You won't be able to sustain a career if you devalue your own offering, you know? So again, it comes back to that original question is what you are giving a professional offering, does it stand up to the price that you are asking for, you know? And don't be afraid, you know, of saying yes, yes, it does. Yes, it does. What I do is amazing. What I do is phenomenal. I move audiences. What I say is not being said by other people out there. What my offering has to bring is very unique, and I am professional, and I'm prepared, and I come on time, and I deliver, and I'm well thought out, and I can contribute to a classy, high-end awards dinner for a high-flying corporate client as much as I can contribute to a poetry festival where I'm talking to people who are deeply invested in my craft, as much as I can contribute to a CSI project for an NGO, an outreach project, going and performing for people who can't really afford me, but it's a space that I believe in, and I want to be able to contribute my skills there. So I'm happy to do that, maybe at a reduced price, you know? Nobody has the right to tell you what you should value. No, in other words, nobody has the right to say to you, this event is so important, is so meaningful, this audience is so meaningful, we need you there for free. Yes, and many people will say that. So of course, I mean, they've got the right to say it, but you don't have any obligation to go along with other people's desires, no matter how passionate they are, if they're not willing to pay you. You don't owe anybody your labor for free, unless in your heart you feel like contributing to that event, that space, that cause, that platform. Contributing to that platform is worth more than money. The only reason why you should do something at a reduced price or for free is because being in that space to you and sharing your offering is worth more than money to you. Does that make sense? Let me check the chats quickly. Let's see. Okay. It seems like the people are with me. Okay. Yeah. Don't do something for free or for a reduced price unless to you being in that space, sharing in that space is worth more than money. Okay, fantastic. Makes sense. Thank you, everybody who's saying that. Thank you. Okay, because the reason why, if you devalue your labor, you don't help yourself, you lose out on the benefit of, on the economic benefit of being, you know, remunerated for your skills. You lose out on being able to pay your bills. You lose out on being able to advance your life. You lose out on being able to save. You lose out on being able to learn about money. The more you make money, the more you learn about money. The more you make money, the more you learn that, you know, money is something that you are able to receive and handle and manage, that you can be responsible with money, that you can multiply money, that you can use money to serve your own ends, to fund your projects, or to do what it is that you have to do to advance yourself, your family, your life. You can't do all that if you don't have money. You'll never have money if you're giving your skills away for free, you know? And this is a really, it's a mindset thing that you've got to like click into, is that even if other people are not charging for this thing, if I know that I am worth it, I can charge. Anything in the marketplace can be a commodity, especially in this era that we are living in right now. People are selling anything and everything. If people are making money off of yoni steams and hair products and sex toys and what, why wouldn't you be able to make money selling poetry? Especially if you know that what you do is something that can't be found anywhere else, that your unique interpretation of your art is something that adds value to the space, that adds value to other people's lives. It's a value that you can quantify, right? So when you think about your rate, right, think about how much how much time and how much resources actually go into what it is that you are offering, right? So when somebody says, come and do a 15-minute set, right, at my gig, you know, and my colleague offers yoni steams, Terror Rose says, I think Yoni's themes are fantastic. I'm just saying, I'm just saying, it's like, if there are all these products that are on the market today that didn't exist just even a couple of years ago, you know what I mean? If people are charging for something that other people find value in and are willing to pay for it, right? And those people know, whoever the maker of that product is, they know what they're putting in that product. So they know why that product is worth that price for them. You should be able to do the same as a poet. You should be able to do the same as a creative. When you think about your price, right? If let's go back to the 20,000 rands example, right? I'm being asked to MC a gig by some big corporate and they've got a budget of 20 grand and I've agreed to do it, right? That 20 grand is paying for the clothes that I'm wearing. It's paying for my transport, my Ubers there and back. It's paying for all the data that I spent going back and forth negotiating with this client, right? It's paying for and the other implicit costs that it's paying for. It's paying for the time that I spent rehearsing this material. It's also paying off, you know, the time that I spent way back when writing these poems before I even know that I would be performing them at a corporate. That's my labor too. Even if these poems were written 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago, it doesn't matter. They're the gift that they keep on giving, right? I wrote that. I put my labor into that. And now you're asking me to perform these tonight in addition to emceeing your function. So I have to rehearse. I have to make sure that I know my work. I have to make sure that I understand what it is, that I understand my function. I have to study your brief. I have to go through your program. I have to go through the bios of the speakers that you've given me. If they're public figures and you haven't given me bios, I have to do that research on my own. I have to wrap my head around the journey of your program. All of these are skills. All of this is time. And it's time that can be quantified, you know? So also don't be afraid of the price, because when you actually break down for yourself the labor, what actually goes into your rate, it's worth it. It's worth it. And the thing about devaluing your labor is you're not just devaluing it for yourself, you're devaluing it for everybody else. If me or a Genam Sharpen or a Lebo Mashile or a Kollega Putuma one day woke up and decided that we're going to do all our gigs for free, we would kill the poetry sector. We would literally kill it, because clients would then realize that, oh, but we can get, if these people who are at the most visible end of this sector, you know, with all this experience and stuff, if these people are giving their skills away for free, then why should I pay for an entry-level poet or somebody who's just been in the game for maybe 5 years? Why should I pay for them if I can get Genam Sharpen for free? You know what I mean? So you hurt your peers when you undercharge. You hurt those who come after you when you undercharge. You hurt everybody when you undercharge. And I understand that it's extremely difficult, especially in times like this. I mean, already the art sector is like so unregulated. It's like the wild, wild west. That's the other thing is, you know, I get a lot of questions, you know, people will often ask me like, what should I charge for this? What do I charge for that? I don't know what you should charge. What do you feel like you are worth? I can tell you my rates, but these are my rates that come after 2 decades of experience, 2 books, 2 albums, plays that come with performing in 32 countries, that come with 17 years of experience on TV. This, you know what I mean? This is what comes with a lot of, I've earned the ability to be able to charge what I charge. So I can confidently say, you know what I mean? When I'm giving somebody a discount or charging them my full rate, I can say, this is why this is worth this to me. This is what it's backed up by. You know what I mean? So I can't tell you what you should charge, but I can say, I believe that there should at least be a minimum, you know, when it comes to what entry-level rates are, you know, because you can't really put a ceiling on what the top looks like. You know what I mean? Like what I charge is a fraction of what Bonang charges. She's got a much bigger following. She's got millions of followers. She's a bigger brand. She's much more visible. She's, you know, so in terms of like the top end of the entertainment industry, you know, there are individuals at the top who are charging huge amounts of money. Is it justifiable for me to push my rate up that high right now in my career? Maybe at some point it will be, I fucking hope so, but forgive me. But, you know, but right now I also know that I'm not at the beginning, you know, I am one of the top players in my field. But in terms of being one of the top players in the overall industry, I can't say that yet. And I think that that's it's honest, but it's also healthy as well, because it also gives me somewhere to go and somewhere to grow to. But at the same time, I also know that I'm not gonna go back. Even during COVID, with all the stuff that's been happening, the desperation, people are halving their rates. I mean, so much has happened in the market in the last 2 years. Like, it's really been crazy. Even the shift from performing live to performing online has also been a massive shift. Like right now, I'm sitting in my house, you know, if I had to go, if this was a live event, well, first of all, if this was a live event, the majority of you wouldn't be there because most of you are from outside of Gauteng, right? So if we were having this in Johannesburg at Buta, you know, 70% of the people in the room just wouldn't be there, right? Which is so unfortunate. So also thank God for COVID, because COVID kind of reorientated us around how to use technology to our benefit. But at the same time, you know, when those of us who were used to performing on live, you know, if this event had been a live event at Buta, I would have been booked for the evening off, right? I would have had to travel there. I would have had to put on my party dress for you. Right now I'm wearing pajamas on my bottom. I've got no Spanx on. I'm wearing slippers. I've got my sliders on and socks. Like under here, it's a mess. You don't have to know that because I'm in the privacy of my own home. So, I mean, we had to really factor in how to cost our prices, factoring in the convenience of being here at home, right? I'm in my living room. You know, I've got a ring light. My kitchen is there. I don't have to go anywhere, you know? So that means that COVID, there was a price reduction that happened during COVID because of going online. But it was a justifiable price reduction because it also meant going online also gave us the opportunity to be able to be in multiple spaces. So I could, at the peak of COVID, you know, or during the last 2 years, there are things that happened that have never happened in my career. Like, I remember there was 1 week where I was doing a festival in the US, doing a festival in Portugal, and doing a festival in South Africa in the same week. You know, like, geographically, if I had to do that physically, I wouldn't be able to do that. You know, I might be able to do it, but I mean, but at the end of it, I would be completely broken, right? But, you know, just on as a physical touring schedule, something like that would have been impossible. But if I'm sitting in my house and I'm performing online, I can be in different parts of the world at the same time, you know? So during COVID, a lot of people took their prices down because of the digital aspect of being able to work online. Also because of desperation. Let's be honest. Like, the art sector, we got kicked in the teeth. You know, there are hardly any sustainable support structures for artists, for out of work artists. There are no support structures in this country that can accommodate 1 million people who work in the art sector, who are part of the gig economy, who couldn't, you know, find an income during that period during hard lockdown. I know artists who didn't work for 2 years, people who have been working for decades, people who've been working far longer than me. I did a gig with Pops Muhammad, like legendary musician, jazz icon, indigenous musician, producer, incredible man. I did a gig with him last week, and it was Pops's first gig in like 2 years, you know? So people have been knocked in the worst way possible. So I understand the desperation, but at the same time, if you succumb to desperation, you won't be able to get your price back up. If you push your rate so far down in an economic downturn like this, when things shift, and I don't know when or how things will shift, we're in this cataclysmic period in the world. No one knows what is coming, right? But I know that I have kids. I know that I have a life. I know that I have a bond. I know that I have a career. So whatever is coming in 5 years, those kids are still going to need to eat. I cannot put myself in a position out of desperation where I have pushed my rate so far down that I can't get it back up, right? So bringing us back to a quotation, the quotation is like the first assertion of your power. It's the first assertion of, it's your first time where you're saying, this is the kind of artist that I am. This is what I intend to deliver. This is what I charge. This is how I protect what I do. This is what I require in order to be able to do what I do. You know, it's like walking in the room and saying, yeah, kinnaman, you know? And the more information you can give them, the more empowering it is for you in the long run. If the client says yes to your quotation, then they will ask you for an invoice. The quotation is not yet a binding contract, but through the quotation, you're basically establishing your terms of engagement. If they come back to you and they approve of your quotation and they say, yes, okay, we love you, we're happy to pay this price, we're willing to go along with you. In order for you to get paid, you're going to have to submit an invoice, right? An invoice is it's like you know, the receipts that you get, you know, when you buy anything at any shop, right? An invoice is kind of our version of that, but for skills and services, for our labor, basically, you know. So an invoice would have your contact details, the contact details of the client, how much you're going to charge, your bank details, your terms of payment, you know. Also in the quotation, it's good to think about and stipulate what your terms of payment are. And it's also very good during the negotiation to ask your client about what the terms of payment are. So somebody can say, yes, we approve of your 20,000. We love the fact that you're going to do this gig at this price. And then turn around after the gig and say, oh, but by the way, because of our payment processes, you have to log on to our supplier database, and it takes a day and a half to register because the forms are so thick and so messed up. And so you can get caught up in the bureaucratic processes of a lot of companies and a lot of public institutions, especially government, you know. So, you know, the client can come to you and say, oh, we need you to register on our database, you know, and you spend half your day registering on the database. And then they say, oh, by the way, we have a 90-day policy. So such things are things that you need to know upfront, you know. How long is it going to take you to pay me? You know, what are your payment processes like? But the even better way to do that is to say, this is what I insist on. Right? So there's a lot of artists who get paid 100% of their money up front. There are a lot of artists who get paid 50% of their money up front. There are sometimes I can be mixed about this. You know, I go with what my relationship is with the client. How reliable do I know that person is? If it's somebody that I don't know at all, then I will ask for 50% upfront, sometimes even 100% upfront. And I find that if people who are very empathetic towards artists, who have worked with artists a lot of the time, they have an understanding of how we work. They understand what the sector is like. So they are open to things like that. They are open to paying 50% or sometimes even the full price upfront to be able to secure you and make sure that you're there. But if you're going to do that, then you have to show up. You know, if somebody pays you 100% upfront, then you've got to show up 100%. A lot of the time, the reasons why clients don't like paying people 100% upfront or giving people any money upfront is because people then become lax. You know, it's like when you're doing a project on your house, you're building the back rooms or you're painting or whatever, and you hire the contractor and you pay them all the money upfront. Then they start coming late. They do half the job. They cheat you on materials. You know, they take advantage because they've already eaten the money, you know what I mean? So it's about you and your integrity as well. If you are getting paid up front, you have to show up like the rent is due tomorrow and still give the best of yourself during that job, you know? So yeah, so the invoice is absolutely 100% fundamental. The invoice is basically your binding contract. The invoice says, this is what I've done for you. This is what I'm going to do for you. This is what you owe me. This is how you get paid, right? So again, like I said, some clients will ask you to register on their supplier database. Some clients will require a purchase order to pay you. So you submit an invoice you submit the quotation to them, you invoice, let's say, you give them your invoicing details, they give you a purchase order, then you have to resubmit the invoice with the purchase order, and that's how you get paid. So that's how you know you're in their system, But it's important to have the conversation about payment processes and their systems up front, so that you're not caught with your pants down after you've already done the gig and given them your services, and now it's like you're chasing money. One of the most frustrating aspects of this business is chasing money. Up to now, 22 years later, it's still the most frustrating aspect of my life and of my business, is chasing money. 60% of my time is dedicated towards admin around money at any given time, whether it is reading contracts and agreements, whether it is speaking to an agent or a booking agent about a job that's coming in and the money, whether it is calling clients to chase the money, whether it is invoicing, whether it is whatever it is. Like, the admin side of this business is rigorous, it is demanding, and you need to be on top of it. If you can't be on top of it, you need to outsource somebody else who can be on top of it, because this is the part where, this is the part that separates, like, the amateurs from the professionals, for real, and well, I remember when I realized this as a young artist, it felt like such a burden, because I was like, shit, now I've got to worry about making the best possible art that I can make, right? I've got to worry about, how am I going to find time to write? How am I going to find time to rehearse? How am I going to make these projects that want to come alive inside of me, these dreams that I have, how am I going to bring them to fruition? That's already like the creative burden that I walk around with in the world. Now I must worry about money and contracts and intellectual property and invoices and quotations and protecting my labor and protecting my IP. Yes. Yes, just accept it. It's nobody else's job. I've tried everything under the sun. I've had in my life, I've had agents, I've had booking agents, I've had PAs and assistants. And I still find myself at my big age, still having to spend a great deal of time being involved in the admin, and the artists that I know who got robbed and got really abused and treated very, very badly are people who were very hands-off when it came to wanting to deal with their money, In this business, people will exploit you. Like, this is one of the most exploitative sectors, You can wake up every single day in the arts and work for free and not be paid, and sweat, like literally work your butt off and not be paid, And I think, to me, that is like abnormal and ridiculous. This is a job, this is a profession, just like any other profession. So and I know, many people don't understand that. I spend a lot of time, 80% of the inquiries that come into me don't materialize into gigs. So in other words, I spend 80% of my time being told that either the dates aren't going to work out or the money's not going to work out. I'm overpriced. Can I come down? No, I'm not interested in coming down. Okay. 80%. That means I hear a lot of no's. There's 80, the 4 out of 5 times, these 4 times before we get to the gig that pays me well, I'm dealing with all this disappointment. This is why I also charge so much as well. Do you understand? Because all this is my labor too, Let me come into the chat and see what people are saying. Okay, we mostly shy away from charging. Oh, excuse me. Let me see, my ring light is doing stunts here. Okay, I got it. We mostly shy away from charging for our services, especially poetry pieces we perform. Thank you for reminding us of our worth. I'm really grateful. That's Khadi. Thank you, Khadi. Hannah says, God bless poetry. It's a very special and unique career. Lumka says, why do our clients never understand this? I think it starts with us. We really need to start teaching them our worth and our value. Yeah, it's true. I mean, it starts with you. If it's like a relationship, it's like any relationship. If you don't see your own worth and your own value, how do you expect somebody else to see it? You know, I think we are living in a time where there's so much uncertainty and upheaval in the world. You know, with the political situation and the economic situation in South Africa is also mirrored by what's happening all over the planet, you know. Artists got a very raw deal during the pandemic, not just in South Africa, but in different parts of the world too, you know. So we are in a place of kind of woundedness. We are in a place of tremendous anxiety. We are in a place of uncertainty and real genuine fear, you know. But at the same time, please do not lose sight of the fact that social media and the digital era have opened up so many new avenues and ways of expressing ourselves, you know. We are entering a creative era in the world, in global consciousness. Like, as the world becomes digital, as we go through this digital revolution, this fourth industrial revolution, you know, the fourth industrial revolution is going to open up the creative sector in explosive ways. So you as a creative right now, what you do cannot be done by any machine. What you do can't be written by any code or by any algorithm. It's like, this is intrinsic human endeavor, you know, and it has tremendous value, not just now, but going forward. That is apart from the spiritual value that people derive from the arts. We need the arts to see ourselves. We need the arts to heal. We need the arts to hold up a mirror to society. We need the arts to understand who we are, to remember who we are. We need the arts to imagine who we could be. So with all of this upheaval, the medicine that the world needs is also alive in what we do. We are the medicine. We are eternal. That means that you have to value yourself. You know, you're not going to be able to survive without. How do you survive this period of upheaval if you don't value yourself? It's like COVID. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, we had to stay indoors and wear our masks and sanitize and take care of each other. You can't buy into that if you don't value yourself, you know? So a lot of this goes back to, what are your core and fundamental beliefs about what you deserve? What are your core and fundamental beliefs about money? What are your core and fundamental beliefs about your ability to be able to communicate about money, you know? Money is incredibly emotionally triggering. Money is the one subject that, like, you know, it reaches deep into my own anxieties and insecurities. So every time I have to talk about money, every time I have to negotiate money, it's an opportunity to work through that, to get myself used to it. You know, billionaires and millionaires and people who run massive companies, people who run massive organizations with huge budgets, they're used to talking about millions and millions of rands every day. They're used to allocating and moving all kinds of funds to all kinds of people. How are we as artists ever going to get in that kind of position if we're scared of even charging 10,000 rands or 20,000 rands or 30,000 rands or 50,000 rands for what it is that we do, you know? In terms of individual pricing for individual gigs, I'm sorry for the fact that I cannot give you like a flat rate of, you know, what to charge. My advice would be, go to different people and ask different people for advice. Ask somebody who runs a festival for advice. Ask an agent for advice. Ask a working artist for advice. You know, put together a pool of people and kind of benchmark yourself against where other people's rates are at, you know? But if you are serious about what it is that you do and you know that you're good at it, please, by no means, like, don't do it for free. And also don't allow other people to devalue what it is that you do. You know, if it's valuable to you, if it's valuable to other people, if there are clients out there who are willing to pay a premium for it, then wait for those clients. Create products that will speak to those clients. Build a level of your craft that will only attract those clients, and be at peace with the fact that other people can't afford you. You know, it's okay. It's not a measure of your worthiness. They're not good, they're not bad, but be at peace with it, you know? I think, yeah, it's about how you value yourself. You know, it's about worthiness. When I became a professional, you know, I lost a lot of friends because people, I wasn't the girl who would rock up at your event and just do it for free anymore. I wasn't the girl who was comfortable with being invited to a dinner party and being asked to perform. I wasn't the person who was comfortable with being invited to a funeral or a birthday party and being hoid on stage. I still don't like that kind of behavior, you know. Maybe once upon a time when I was up and coming, that was cool, while I was still testing the waters and learning and trying to figure out, you know, what this is all about. But just because I am your friend, or you know me, or I'm your family member, it doesn't mean that you deserve my skills for free. You know what I mean? The guy who owns Pick and Pay, his family doesn't come in there once a week and do shopping for free. You know what I mean? Like, you don't invite a doctor to a dinner party because you want them to check out your cough. You don't invite the gynae to lunch because you want them to check out, you know, the whatever it is that you've got going on inside of you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we need to get comfortable with the fact that we can have a personal relationship, but this thing that I do, my job is my job. If you want to engage me with my skills as my friend, then you have to engage me as a professional like anybody else. I don't owe anybody my skills for free. And that's something that I'm very confident and comfortable with saying. Let me see, are there any questions that you guys have? Maybe let's do a young Q&A. Ooh, I see paragraphs here. Oh, wow. Okay. Africa says, check the Q&A tab. Okay, I will. I see Funwani says, please talk about poetry competitions and review fees. How do we weigh which poetry competitions are worth participating in? I've never been in a poetry competition. I don't want to lie. I've seen slams. I think it's interesting as a form, but I've never participated in one. So I don't know about the pricing of that. Maybe ask a competitive poet what they can charge for that. Nani says, the first time I knew my work has value was during my performance at Poetry Africa. That opened my doors and permitted me to have an artist run with Sub-Saharan Africa panel. Yes, in Wales. Yeah. Now I want to take my art seriously and make it a profession. And I would love to thank you for giving me the push during my performance. Fabulous. It boosted my confidence. Thank you for that. Mtabani says, also, please emphasize on the importance of us submitting quotations and profiles in time. Yes, clients complain about how artists take forever and a day or two to submit quotations and profiles. That is true. You know, the sooner, also remember, but when people are asking for quotations and they're asking you for your profile, they're asking multiple people at the same time, you know? So the best way to do this actually is to have a system for it. If you can create a quotation, like a template, like something that lives, you know, a document that lives on your phone or on your device, whatever you're working on, that allows you to just like change the names of the clients, maybe change the amounts, but the terms of working with you stay consistent. That's the best way to do it. So that when clients are asking for your stuff, when clients are asking for your quote, you email a profile, you email a quote, and then you know that it's gone. That kind of stuff, it lives in my notes on my phone. I've got documents that live there. People ask me for pictures. I've got pictures that I send off. I've got a bio that I send off. I have a long bio. I have a short bio, you know. The more you can streamline things, the easier it's going to be for you. A lot of the time when clients book you, yes, of course, they know that, you know, you deliver a fantastic product. Those who believe in what it is that you do, they know that you deliver a fantastic product. But for a lot of corporate clients, you know, and people who are paying for your professional services, they're paying for your reliability. They're paying for ease of communication. They're paying for knowing that when you say that you're going to turn something around, you know, in 24 hours, you're going to be able to do it. You're going to meet those deadlines. You're going to come through. So the more you can be reliable, also, the more you're going to increase the frequency with which clients return to you. Let's see. Someone who can't write poetry once said, this is from Khadi, someone who can't write poetry once said, it's just words. And I had to remind them how much we invest in coming up with a poetry piece. It is sad that people can think that it's not a thing of value. Thank you, Lebo Mashile. Also, consider bringing another session of Latitude. Love that program. Latitude will never come back. I'm so glad that you loved it. It's true. A lot of people don't think that art has any value. And for me, I don't want to waste time explaining that to people anymore. Like it's like that amazing Toni Morrison quote that the function of racism is basically to waste your time. You experience racism, or you get caught up in explaining racism, what it is and how it makes people feel, educating people on racism, instead of actually getting on with making your art or living your life or being Black and fabulous, and I feel kind of the same way about these debates around the arts. If somebody doesn't see value in my art, me telling them is not going to convince them to pay me. You know what I mean? I think this is something that really needs to like go land, is that you sending a quote is not convincing somebody of your value. It's saying, this is who I am and this is what I am worth. So it's like, it's like, you wouldn't date somebody. Well, that's a whole nother question. But it's like, would you, if you have a set of criteria that you need a partner to be able to fulfill, somebody has to be loyal and honest and respectful and loving and kind, right? If those are your 5 most important qualities and somebody doesn't meet 2 of them, you're not going to sit and try to convince them why they need to be respectful and kind, right? This person is not respectful and kind. This is not my person. Why am I here? It's sad that many people don't understand the value of the arts. But you trying to convince them is not going to show them what the value is. You embodying your value, you embodying your sense of worthiness, of self-worth, you embodying the beauty of your craft, you embodying professionalism. That says more than you trying to convince someone who doesn't care about the arts that it has any meaning. Wallonie says, create a product that will speak to your clients. Yes. Emma Mabia asked in the Q&A, hey, Emma, please expound on your experience with the booking agent, the do's and don'ts, biggest lessons learned from that. I have multiple booking agents. I don't have a single booking agent. I have an exclusive agent for my acting and for my voiceovers and for ads. So I have one agent, MLA, that I have worked with since 2005, Muneen Lee. Muneen passed away, God rest her soul, during 2020, during COVID. I signed on to Muneen's books after I did Hotel Rwanda. And I remember working with Muneen, when she was still alive, the auntie, she was like this badass gogo who used to smoke cigars, and, she had bright red hair and these crazy glasses, and she lived life by her own rules. Like, Muneen was a powerhouse in the entertainment industry. And I'm grateful to Muneen because Muneen, when I first signed on to her books, Muneen, she had like this gravelly voice, like, darling, she talked like that. She was like, darling, people, this industry is they're never going to understand you. They won't get you, She was like, the very same things that make me unique and that make me such an interesting artist are also the things that make me difficult to cast in a South African context. She was very upfront about that, She was like, it's not that there's anything wrong with you. It's that the industry thinks like this, So she was like, don't define yourself by how this industry positions you. You put your art first, put your own creativity first. Let them be the ones who follow you, And for me, that was such that blew my mind. She was like, if I have special projects in mind or things that are interesting that I think, are things that would appeal to you, I'll reach out to you for those things. If you need help negotiating stuff, ad work or voiceover work, or, you know, other like the TV work, if you need help in negotiating rates, I will come in and assist you on those things too, you know. But don't be the kind of, she was basically saying, don't be the kind of actor who relies on me for work, because of the way that you are, I'm not going to be able to get you cast a lot. If you want to work, it means you have to make your own work. And that's the attitude that I've walked around with. That's why I have recorded and done theater and collaborated with dancers and collaborated with musicians and done all kinds of stuff, because I'm like, okay, you know, and I mean, a lot of the stuff that is artistically most meaningful to me is not the stuff that has been most visible in my career. And I'm also at peace with that. I believe that the work that I've created will stand the test of time. So if people just only come to discover things that I was doing 10 years ago, 5 years from now, I'm cool with that. You know, I would rather build a body of work that stands the test of time, you know what I mean, than be somebody who's in front of everybody's faces, you know, all the time, forever and ever, amen. You know what I mean? So, I mean, Muneen is a very specific example of an acting agent. And then I have other agents that I work with, who book me for different kinds of corporate gigs, you know, usually like speaking events or emceeing events or going and being like an artistic act at an event, you know. My corporate work, I manage myself. Because I manage it myself, it's separate to my agent's agreement with MLA. Because I manage it myself, I outsource that work to a lot of different agents. So some people will reach out to me directly, some clients will reach out to me directly, some clients will come through any number of agents. Also, some clients, like government, for example, if government is putting out an event, they have to put out, if they have like an artistic item or different, they have to put out tenders for different service providers, right? So you may find if you're doing a government event, you might have more than one agent that is coming to you, you know, for the same event, you know. That's happened to me before as well. What I do with those, for me, whether I'm dealing with an agent, because remember, the agent is going to add their price on top, right? They're going to add their commission and the money that they make. The beauty of having an agent is that the agent then becomes the one that does the negotiation with the client. You don't have to talk to the client. The agent is the one that does the invoicing. You don't have to do it. You don't have to do the quotation. You don't have to even chase the money afterwards. If the agent, if it's a good agent, should do all of that, you know? What you have to do is decide on your price and your terms of engagement with that agent. So I have a consistent performance fee, as a consistent emceeing fee, a consistent scripting fee, a consistent rehearsal fee for corporates. And every agent who reaches out to me and every client who reaches out to me, they get that rate, right? And then the agent will add their money on top, you know? Ishmael asked me to speak about tax. I must come to tax, but I want to talk about the do's and don'ts. So a good thing you can do is, if you're being contacted through an agent, do a quick Google search, you know, see who this person is. Are they reputable? Do they have a track record? Search for them on social media. If you can find, you know, other artists who have worked with them on their social media. That's a nice thing about working these days, is that, you know, people are traceable. You know what I mean? You don't have to rely on word of mouth like we did like years and years ago. You know, now you can find these people and you can find who they're connected with. Investigate people's reputations, you know, even with promoters. There's a lot of shady promoters out there, you know. There are shady people who habitually don't pay people. So investigate. And if this person looks solid, you know, solid track record, has been working for some time, has worked with reputable artists, gets those artists paid like very, very well. There's no shady stories about them, about overinflating rates and, you know, like doubling the price and paying artists less. You know, these are things that you have to check about, people's character, you know. Yeah. And then on your side, just maintain a consistent price for what it is that you charge for your services, you know, so that you don't develop a reputation of charging this agent that price and that agent that price and that person that price, you know. Consistency goes a long way. Do you have to, Letu says, do you have to register yourself as a brand and have a business account for your art? You know, in 2004, I went to DTI and tried to register myself as a brand. And the guy there was like, why are you registering your name? You're not Nelson Mandela. Before people understood what personal branding was. So no, my Lebo Mashile brand is not trademarked, is not registered as a brand, which is not for a lack of trying. I should probably try to do that again. But I do have a business. I do have a business account. Having a business account and working through a business means that there's some advantages to that. Working through a business means that you can pay your tax yourself. Working through a business also means sometimes, you know, with SARS, you have to make sure, especially now, because SARS is becoming a lot stricter now that they have, you know, they're trying to rebuild themselves after this period of intense corruption. And remember, the only place where the state can collect money from citizens is through taxes, through SARS. So SARS is incredibly important, you know, and having a good relationship with SARS is incredibly important. SARS, if there's anybody who knows how our industry works, get SARS. SARS has no scam with coming after artists for money, you know. They know how our business works. They know that there's a lot of like cash transactions in our business, you know. So this is also, and they know that artists are ignorant as well, you know. This is how you end up with artists who like TKZ that get stuck with like a bill, yeah, 2 million, Bosomizi that get stuck with these huge tax bills. Always make sure that you are up to date when it comes to SARS. So for me, I have my personal personal account, and some people book me personally directly as Lebo Mashile. Sometimes I use the business to book myself through. Ideally, my dream is to be able to do everything through the business, but I'm not there yet, you know, but the business does help, you know. I need to have tax clearance for both. I need to have tax clearance for, I need to be up to date and have tax clearance. In other words, every year SARS needs to give me a certificate that says that I, as Lebo Mashile, have tax clearance. I've paid all of my taxes. And then I also need to get another document like that for my business as well, you know? So I've got an accountant who does my taxes. He does my taxes for myself. He does my taxes for my business. The good thing about being an artist also is that as creatives, we can declare everything. Basically, you can declare your, if you're working from home, you can declare 25% of your space as office space. You can declare 25% of your electricity and water bills also if you work from home. You can declare all of your clothing. You can declare, if you're working from home, you can declare 25% of your groceries and all of the meals that you have outside, because you can declare it as a business meal. So if I go and, you know, go to the coffee shop to do my work because I've been load shedded, then the money that I've spent to get to the coffee shop, the money that I've spent in the coffee shop, and the money that I spend to get home, I can declare from SARS. You can declare your transport for SARS, from SARS. There's so much, you know, so that's the good thing. Like if you can just be on top of your finances, find somebody who can help you. I found that having an accountant, having somebody who manages my books for me, I mean, it's a pain, you know, when I've got to pop out that like 12 grand at the beginning of the year when it's tax season. But, you know, after that, it is like, it's a headache that I just completely avoid, you know. It's worth it. It's worth it. So yes, I have a business account for my art. No, I'm not registered as a brand. Curious. I get turning down corporates, but why charge NPOs? How do you determine which performances you can do for free? When do you negotiate your rates? For me, you know, there are NPOs that I have a problem with because sometimes NPOs will go out of their way to try to produce like premium events. Like for example, I turned down an NPO last week for a gig. They wanted me to MC an awards event for about a quarter of my rate. And this woman was like, you know, she sent me 2 emails, she WhatsApped me, she called me twice. For 2 days, she was after me. And then I was like, you know, I got really upset because I'm like, here's this woman hounding me, trying to book me, but she's only paying me a quarter of my rate. And what's what was frustrating for me, more than it being, you know, an NPO, it was the fact that they wanted to do a high-end gala dinner somewhere at, you know, this expensive hotel in Sandton. So you have the resources to pay for a premium event. You want to host a premium event, but you don't want to pay me premium rates, because the hotel you're paying a premium to, the sound you're paying a premium for, the food you're paying a premium for, you're honoring premium clients. You see me as a premium MC, but you don't want to pay me a premium rate. If that NPO was doing CSI work, if they were going out into, you know, a community that is under-resourced, and they were asking me to perform, for example, for young people or elderly people or aspiring artists, or do a motivational speech, and they came with the same rate, I probably would have been likely to do that. But what upset me is that there's nothing else here in the curation of your event that you have devalued. The only thing that you are devaluing here is me. And that is why I turned them down. And I find that, you know, there are a lot of, just because an organization is a nonprofit doesn't mean that they're not sitting on budgets. There are big nonprofits, you know, and there are big nonprofits that get away with not paying people proper rates because they ride on the fact that they're nonprofits. I mean, like the UN, you know, the UN is notorious for asking people to do events for free. You know what I mean? But they fly their people all over the world. They put their people in premium housing. They pay their people, you know, premium SNTs. They relocate their people all over the world. You know what I mean? But you don't have money to pay for me, but you want to use my voice, my skills, my talent, my visibility in this area where I have influence to be able to amplify you. No, I don't owe you that. I don't owe anybody that. I'm here tonight because I believe in what Hear My Voice is doing. You know, I'm here tonight because I believe that this topic is important. I'm here tonight because I want to be able to connect to you. This also is a fraction of my rate. I was paid 100% upfront. Shout out to Mo. Thank you so much. I'm doing this for a fraction of what I would charge corporate South Africa because it's worth more than money to me. Do you understand? This is worth more than money to me. Putting on a designer dress to go to Sandton, to go and honor people for an NPO that has money for everybody else, but not for me, that's not worth more than money for me. I hope that you can understand that, you know? And a lot of it for me is very much intuitive. It's like I listen to my gut, you know, and as I get older, that becomes more and more and more and more and more important, you know. Do I believe in this? Do I trust this? Is this necessary? If not, if I can't answer any of those questions quickly with ease, you know, I must be able to say what it is that I feel about something. Otherwise, you can't afford me, we can't do it. I hope that makes sense. What I gather here is one shouldn't hustle from a position of hunger. Yes, given Black child, even when you're hungry, your clients should not know that you're hungry. Also, you know, like you're not hungry because you are unworthy. You're not hungry because you lack talent. You're not hungry because you lack vision or skill. You're hungry because of the dynamics of inequality in South Africa. You're hungry because of the lack of institutional support for artists. You're hungry because, you know, we live in a society where protection mechanisms for creatives are underdeveloped, you know? So I think we because of the trauma of poverty, we internalize the trauma of poverty as though it is a personal indictment against us, you know, like I'm poor, hakena, I never learned how to manage this stuff, you know, now, my God, now I'm carrying everybody, I'm carrying all this responsibility. For me, I've spent so much time blaming myself for that, you know, comparing myself to my peers who are not burdened by the same burdens that I have. And being like, why is that person so far and I'm only here? You know what I mean? In my lane, for what I have, for where I come from, for what I've been through, my life is a triumph. My contribution is a triumph, you know, first and foremost to me. If I can own that, then I can assert that in the world, you know? The client who's booking me doesn't have to know that I haven't paid my bond. If I haven't paid my bond that month, the client doesn't have to know that I'm in a position of desperation. The client doesn't have to know what's going on financially in my life. As far as they are concerned, this is what I charge because this is what I'm worth, because this is what I deliver, you know? Okay, Hannah Wood, oh, at least we get to dish out with the agent while they do all the work on the other side. Yes, but while you dish out with the agent, also ask them how much of a percentage are they going to charge. The other thing that's really important to talk about is tax as well. You know, Ishmael spoke about this before, and I forgot to go deeper into this. Sometimes when we do work for clients, tax, I think, for the creative industries is 25%. So, for example, I'm doing a job for my client tomorrow, a voiceover gig, right? It's a documentary series, and they booked me to do some voiceovers for them. Okay, great. It's a nice contract, but my client takes 15% as their fee, standard, klaar. And then I'm taxed a further 25% that has to be paid because this job is being done through my agent. So that means that I am actually only going to walk away with 60% of what the negotiated price was. So if you've got a good agent, your agent should be able to negotiate their fee into your fee so that you don't feel such a big hit. Do you know what I mean? But that's something that you need to be conscious of, and it's a conversation that you need to have with your agents and with your clients. Are they going to deduct tax? You know, hopefully, and have this conversation before you set your rate, so that you can, if you can, you know, when the client reaches out to you, ask them about, okay, well, buy yourself some time. And a lot of this is about just the, you know, just the finesse of being able to communicate, you know, in a way that allows you to get as much information as you can while you're still formulating what it is that you're trying to do, while you're still formulating a strategy. So when they reach out to you, you know, oh, thank you so much for this inquiry. I'm going to go back and double check and see whether the date is available. But while I do that, and while I put together the quotation for you, please, can you explain to me your payment processes and also indicate whether or not you will be deducting tax? What is your policy around tax? And then when they reply to you, if they say that they do deduct tax, then you can beef up your price a little bit, inflate your price a little bit, so that when the tax comes out, you don't really feel it. You know, staying up to date on your tax is one of the most important things that you can do, because these days, you know, parastatals, public sector, they demand tax clearance when they're going to book you, you know. So if you qualify for tax, please stay on top of your tax. It's worth investing in an accountant if you can. If you can, please get somebody who can help you, because tax is one of those things that you can wake up one day and you're drowning in it and you don't know how to manage it. It's a profession, you know, that I know people who do their own taxes and I have respect for them. I don't have the muscle to be able to do that. And I also don't have the time, you know, it's a lot of work. So, but I know enough to know that I don't want SARS after me. And it's painful. I mean, when you watch like 25% of your salary being taken away, knowing, you know, that the ANC steals and that these people are going to use this money for corruption, it's extremely painful. It's extremely, 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 extremely painful. But the opposite of that is just having a terrible relationship with SARS and having SARS on your butt and having SARS hounding you for years, taking a chunk out of everything that you earn for you to pay them back. You know, that is even more painful. Khadi says, know your worth and value your work before everyone else. I get it. Thank you and bless. Yes. Kwanele Nyembe says, a lot of people book you based on your following, which from a business perspective, I understand. Is it the artist's responsibility to do the marketing for an event? If yes, to what extent? Fantastic question. What would you say is the best ratio between social media presence and the quality of the work you produce when considering your rates? That is an amazing, amazing question. Thank you for that. Okay, so the first one, is it the artist's responsibility to do marketing for an event? No. If you are being asked to do social media, charge for the social media. If you want to share your social media, you want to share the fact that you're doing this event, you want to share, I mean, like, it's like, if it's for me, if it's a public event and we're trying to get people there in numbers, then I'm happy to post about it because it benefits me to have my audience and have my people know about what it is that's happening. So I will do a post about it. I will share it in my stories. I will let people know. If it's a corporate client, if it's somebody who's paying a premium for my services, right? And they want me to promote a private event, you know, why should I promote Mercedes-Benz? Mercedes-Benz has got a whole marketing department. They've got an advertising company on retainer. Why should I don't get anything. Well, if I feel like I get something out of showing my relationship with Mercedes-Benz, so be it, great, wonderful. But why should a company that is willing to pay for marketing and advertising and social media not pay for mine just because they're paying me for my performance services? Do you get the difference? Do you get the difference? So if it matters to you to let everybody know that you're doing this event because you benefit from the visibility of it, by all means, share the social media, you know? If you are being paid for your labor, for your performance, you know, and you've done that to the best of your ability, and this is a client that is happy to pay for social media and other instances, then they should be paying you as well, you know? What would you say is the best ratio between social media presence and the quality of the work you produce when considering your rates? I mean, I don't think the two necessarily go hand in hand, but they do impact each other, you know? I mean, we know social media is smoke and mirrors. If I invested as much in my social media as I do in my craft, my social media would be as good as my craft, right? But it's a separate craft, you know? It's like trying to compare, you know, theater and television, or even further than that. It's like trying to compare like music and I don't know what, like photography, you know what I mean? It's two different mediums. They can support each other and work together, but they also work independently of each other, you know? So I don't think the social media following is necessarily an indication of the quality of artists that you are, you know? Fame also is not an indication of the quality of artist that you are, but fame and visibility have their own intrinsic value, right? So if kind of who's that amazing poet from KZN who has that massive following on Instagram? We did a workshop with him a couple of years ago, but anyway, you know, if I am asking him as a client to use his social media to promote the event that we did together, I'm benefiting from all the years of effort that he has put into building that social media following. When I find him as a poet, his social media, you know, has got nothing to do with, I didn't make an investment in his social media. I made an investment in his art if I'm booking him for his skills as a poet, right? So if he promotes me on social media, it's a value add, you know, and he should be remunerated for that. You know, it's like, especially now in this era post-COVID, you know, people are recording things, they're sharing them online afterwards. Like this conversation that we're having is being recorded, it's going to be shared online afterwards, which I think for me is right. You know, let this be available as a resource for people to hopefully learn and grow from if they get any value out of it. You know what I mean? Would I leave a private performance that I did for a corporate client up online forever and ever on their social media? No, I would pay for that because I would ask them to pay me for that because that's an endorsement. That goes beyond just the services that I've been asked to provide. That's an endorsement. That's an ongoing endorsement of their brand. You know what I mean? I guess it, you know, it boils down to that question of, you know, can you use fame as a measure of the quality of somebody's craft? Like yes and no, you know what I mean? Beyonce has got millions and millions of followers. She is one of the most visible musician, entertainer of our time, right? To the extent that she can release an album and have it go #1 all over the world and not even release a music video for a single music video for it, and not do a single interview for it. Like that's the power of her brand, you know? So are there musicians who are as good as Beyonce? Of course there are. Are there artists who also deserve similar platforms who have not received the support that she has received? Of course there are. Can we undermine the effort and the time and the skill and the resources and the hard work that it has taken for her to be able to build that following? No, we cannot either. Does that make sense? You know, I hope that makes sense. Anyway, it is recommended that a person with anonymous in the Q&A asks, it's recommended that a person with a steady paycheck puts away 8 to 12 months of income in case of emergencies. As an artist, how do I save for emergencies? That's a great question. I've never been able to put away 8 to 12 months of income, you know, especially not since this pandemic. When my savings was in a healthy place, the most I've been able to save is about 3 months, you know, three, sometimes 4. Right now, I don't have. Right now, I'm just keeping up. What is interesting though, is that if I calculate all the money that is owed to me by different clients, at any given point, I am probably like right now, in this moment in time, I probably got 2 months worth of savings in the form of unpaid income that hasn't come yet from clients. Does that make sense? So work that I've done that I've not been paid for yet, there's outstanding invoices hanging over my head that are probably worth about 2 months worth of my salary. So in a way, because of the payment processes, you know, that my clients and, you know, because of the way that the payment processes work, at any given time, I probably do have a little bit of savings hanging over my head, but it's not money it's not like liquid cash. It's not like money that's in my bank account, you know? One of the things that I learned years ago is even if your money is inconsistent, your bills are going to be consistent. So you have to have a budget for the amount of money that you're going to need to be able to get through the month. And included in that budget, you know, there are things that are included in that budget that don't care whether you get paid, you know, whether you have a good month or a bad month, or you know, whether you're going to be paid after 2 months or paid after a month, you know what I mean? Like, you have to figure out how to create a consistent financial plan for yourself, bearing in mind that the entertainment industry has an inconsistent pattern of payment. That's probably one of the most difficult things that you'll have to do. So for me, that's one of the most difficult things that I have to do. Every month, I have to make sure that the bond is paid, that school fees are paid, that that my family is taken care of. I'm the sole breadwinner in my family, you know, in my extended family, my mother, my sister, blah, blah. So I have to make sure that, you know, that our homes are taken care of. And then on top of that, I have to also use my income to plan for my future. I have children. I need life insurance. You know, my children they need healthcare. You know, long time ago, I took out a retirement annuity, you know what I mean? Because at some point, I'm not going to be able to be on stage as rigorously as I am on stage now, you know? So my annuities, my policies, my bond, my phone, all these things are payments that I need to be able to, I need to know that when those debit orders go off on the 31st of August, that there is money in my account to pay those debit orders, you know? So it's like, almost like, it's like, you know, it's like trying to tame the wind sometimes that's what it feels like. You're trying to take this inconsistent animal and turn it into a consistent source of income in your life, you know? So even when I have, you know, periods where, you know, let's say I have a month that is really, really good and I make, you know, really great money, right? I still have to treat that month like a normal month, you know. I still have to treat and then anticipate that next month might not be a good month, so I need to have money saved over for that time. And that's a hard thing to do, you know. It's not an easy thing to do. One of the things that helped me is that very early in my career, I didn't have access to credit, you know. By the time I was stable enough to have access to credit, I had gotten so used to living on a cash economy that I didn't need credit anymore, you know? So I don't the skolotos that I have are the big skolotos. Like, you know, I'll take out a skoloto for a bond, or I'll take out a skoloto for a car, you know. But if I don't have cash for something, I don't have cash for it, you know. I live on a cash economy. I don't go into my overdraft. I try as much as possible to not live beyond my means. It is extremely difficult, but I think the early years of my professional life, where I just didn't qualify for this stuff, you know, it taught me how to live in a way where I am not strangled by debt. I know people who have accumulated, like, had to woken up and you find yourself like 300,000 rands, 500,000 rands in debt, you know, of credit card debt or overdraft debt, you know. That kind of debt can literally kill you. Like, people have heart attacks and strokes because of the pressure that comes with that, you know. So, I mean, as you grow and as you become a consistent income earner, speak to people who can tell you about, you know, retirement annuities. Speak to people who can tell you about life insurance. Speak to people who can tell you about savings policies, you know. There are short-term retirement annuities that you can use to save money in the short term, you know, like an annuity that's not maybe like, you know, a big retirement annuity could be like, you know, it might get paid over 25 or 30 years, right? But then there are little ones that get paid over 5 or 10 years that some people use maybe to save for a specific goal, you know. And these are really helpful, you know. So reach out, don't feel like because you're an artist, like you don't have the right to call, holler and reach out to a financial advisor. Of course you do. Of course you do. You need that more than anybody. You need a team. You need to have like a lawyer that you can reach out to and trust and ask for legal advice. An accountant that you can reach out and trust and ask for legal advice. Mutwaha wadi policy, you know. You need to have a will. You need to have a will that's going to say what it is that you want to happen to your assets, including your intellectual property, what your art that you have made, what is going to happen, what is your vision for what you have created beyond your life. You know, if your life had to end today, what would you want to happen with the body of work that you've built? These are things that you need to think about, you know. Oh, let me carry on. Okay, let's see. Thank you so much there. Okay, Thank you. Okay, thank you, Africa. I can wrap up. Okay, what is the best avenue one can take if the client pays 50% upfront, but then the other 50% isn't being paid on the agreed time or doesn't even arrive for that matter? Are there legal routes to take? Yes, you can. You can take legal action. If you have an invoice, you can take legal action against this person. I find it very helpful to just take people to social media streets. So many people are so scared of being dragged. They're terrified of Black Twitter. They're terrified. Bad clients, even bad clients with bad payment practices, are terrified of having bad reputations. That's been my experience. Social media has helped me to get paid from clients who I've been waiting for money for months. So if somebody's bullshitting you, you know what I mean? Don't be afraid of taking it public, you know? You tell them, first tell them, I'm going to take legal action against you. Make sure that your paper trail is in order. Your paper trail being your invoice that has your terms of payment that they have not adhered to. Make sure that's in order, and then take it to the streets, you know? Khadi says, fighting for money situation, Ashley. One went as far as asking for me to record a documentary voiceover before and be paid later. Made a ridiculous excuse because he thought she's new in the industry, so she must be desperate. You see, Hannah Word says, as a poet, do I have to have a specific niche to write about, which will attract specific clients, or is being broad and everywhere a way to go? Please assist. Look, I think create the art that speaks to you. Create the art that you want to see, you know. I have consistent themes that keep coming back in my work because those are the things that I care about, you know. The best way, I think, to approach the creation of your brand is organically and authentically. And I know that these words get thrown around a lot, you know. One has to be flexible in terms of the subject matter that you're willing to write about, because a client can come. I mean, I've written for KFC, I've written for toilet paper, I've written for cars, I've written for pharmaceutical companies, you know. So it's like, but when those people approach me, They know what it is that they want. They want somebody creative, authentic. They want the language that I use. They want the values that I stand for. They want the credibility that I have. They want, you know, they want the brand that it is that I come with. So I could be, yes, I'm in the moment I'm writing about, you know, a car, but I'm writing about a car bringing to that brand what my brand already is. Does that make sense? You know, so being flexible doesn't mean that you have to be all things to all people. Approaching your flexibility from a place of being grounded in who you are means that what you say, no matter what you're talking about, is going to be true to you. Does that make sense? And that whoever is listening to you, no matter what it is that you're talking about, they know that that's Hannah. That's Hannah talking right there. I know that's Hannah, you know? And then they can trip on the fact that, oh my God, it's so cool. She's talking about a cell phone. Or, oh my God, it's so cool. She's in that bank ad. That's great, you know? But it's you that people are after. Okay, Ismail says, please ask audience to answer feedback poll questions. So please, guys, please will you answer the feedback questions? Oh, closing statements. Okay, tomorrow, there's still more workshops that are coming up. There's, I think the whole program is running until Saturday, which is amazing. So tomorrow night, there's a workshop on understanding funding. I want to come and check out some of these programs because I think it's going to be really good. I really love the way that this has been curated. So tomorrow, 6 p.m. is understanding funding. And then on Thursday, same time, is proposal writing. Friday is Arts Admin 101. And then Saturday also is the tools for multimedia production. I love that this is information that's being given to poets. That's amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay. Khadi says, what should happen to my body? What's happened to my body of work? Should I die? A good point I never thought about. I'm so glad that I put it out there. These are things that you really need to think about. Think about, like, where are your journals right now? Where's your archive? Where's the places where you like scribble your thoughts, where you scribble your ideas, you know? What's gonna happen to those things? Are there private things that you never want to be published? Those are things to think about as well, because, you know, I mean, it happens to so many writers and so many creatives. An artist keeps a journal where you write all the shitty things that you think about everybody and about the world. And then 50 years after you die, your grandkid or somebody or a friend's kid or somebody comes along and is like, oh, this is really cool and it's so controversial. We need to make money off of this. We could publish this. So you have a say. Make sure that you know, think very deeply about what it is that what you have right now, you know, that could be of value, of future value, and decide who you trust in your life to help, you know, curate what must happen to that material once you're gone. Mercy says, Ashley, you can also go to small claims court, which will not involve payment of lawyers. It's true. If the amount is not above a certain limit. Last time I checked, the maximum limit was 17 grand. That's great. Yes. You're welcome, Hannah. Thank you, Tando. Thank you, Nana. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Irene. Thank you, everybody who has been a part of this. I'm so grateful. So Mo and Ishmael said that this is going to stay up. Well, it won't stay up. It will be put up in a couple of weeks' time, edited nicely. It'll be able to live on YouTube, so you can share this information with other people if they can find some value in all these ramblings. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to share this stuff. And thank you for being such a cool audience and for staying the whole ride. Much appreciation. Huge shout out to Digify Africa. Huge shout out to Hear My Voice. Thank you for having me. You've been a wonderful audience. All the best. Please, 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 please insist on your worth. Insist on your worth. Insist on your worth. Don't compromise on your work. And once you know what your worth is, right? Deliver to that level and exceed that level. Exceed it. Meet your bar and then raise it and raise it and raise it and raise it and raise it, so that you know in your heart that you never have to bring your price down, because you know the value of what you bring to the table. Thank you so much. We need more stuff like this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kaya. Thank you, Tressa. Thank you, Nani. Thank you, Africa. Thank you, Kalani.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, and see you again tomorrow. Sis Lebo, thank you so much for all the insightful words and insights you had with financial literacy. Until next time.
It's an absolute pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure. Ismail, thank you, Mercy. Thank you to everybody who has made the comments in the section. Lumka, thank you. And even those who didn't have a chance to comment, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.